Hey guys, welcome to video number 4 of this 5-part micro-series on how great leaders turn crisis into opportunity. My name is Jason Gavranich and today we'll be learning how great leaders deal with fear in a crisis. Like I mentioned in yesterday's video, many people are too scared to make decisions because they don't want to make the wrong call. They do not want to take responsibility and be accountable for the decision. What I've found is that people like this will generally take this fear into other aspects of their life. They'll be too scared to take a risk that just might take them to another level. They'll be too afraid to take the opportunity that presents itself for fear of failure. You can always hear them say, "But what if it doesn't work out?" To which I typically reply, "Hey, what if it does?" Fear is very much related to our prehistoric past when we, as a developing species, learnt very quickly the value of the fight or flight response in dangerous situations. For example, when out hunting for food to keep the family unit alive, the survival mode of our Neanderthal cousins would kick in if they encountered a pack of saber-toothed tigers. Now, I'm not sure if that ever really happened. I may have just seen it on an episode of the Flintstones. But anyway, here, they were presented with an opportunity to either catch food or become food. They would have to quickly decide whether to face the danger head on or get the hell out of town. Regardless of which decision they made, there would have been an element of fear that they needed to overcome as part of the decision-making process. Let me illustrate. With the flight option, fear would have decided that the Neanderthals needed to fuck everything and run. Pardon me for the swear word. With the fight option, it was more like face Everest and rise to the challenge. Both were equally good decisions, depending on various factors, such as how hungry the Neanderthals might be and how many saber-tooths there were versus the number of Neanderthals. But what the Neanderthals couldn't afford to do, and this is a major problem for most people when it comes to decision making, particularly under adversity, was freeze, because everything will be all right. Now, I'm not sure about all right, but I can tell you what's left, a whole bunch of dead Neanderthals. What you need to clearly understand is that fear is natural. It's a major factor in what has kept the human race alive for so long, and it continually enables us to achieve what we once thought impossible. It has had to be overcome when we have strived for and achieved our greatest successes, both individually and as a species. And it sure as hell is there when we face our most crippling failures. For example, landing a man on the moon was once an impossible dream. Do you think the people at NASA weren't just a little bit scared when in 1961, President John F. Kennedy proposed his vision that before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth? Of course they were. They wouldn't have been human if they weren't. I bet they absolutely crapped themselves and thought that their new president was bordering on complete insanity. Every day they feared that something could and would go wrong. Early on, they lost the man with the vision when Kennedy was gunned down in Dallas, Texas, on the 22nd of November 1963. They could have stopped right then and there and said it was all too hard. Then on 27 January 1967, the loss of 3 astronauts on the ground due to a cabin fire during a routine launch rehearsal test on Apollo 1 nearly derailed the whole program. Manned Apollo flights were suspended for 20 months whilst hazards discovered from that investigation into the fire were addressed. Now, most people would have understood if NASA had walked away at that point in time. But the people at NASA continued. They faced the fear of failure and the terrible loss they had gone through, and then on the 20th of July 1969, the Eagle landed on the moon and Neil Armstrong uttered those famous words, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Despite the fear of failure, they achieved the ultimate goal of getting the man to the moon and back again, before the Soviets did and before the end of the decade. And the whole world stopped to watch that incredible moment. The vision of one man captivated the entire world. Remember that it was that same fear of failure that drove them to succeed. But rather than saying fuck everything and run, they faced Everest and rose to the challenge. Fear is inevitable when you are facing something outside of your comfort zone, like trying to manage your business through a crisis. Learn to deal with it and it can become a great ally, but leave it to its own devices and you'll end up like the Neanderthals. Okay, homework for today is to face up to one of your business fears and conquer it. Maybe you've been scared to get your face on social media to promote your business. Or maybe there's that one employee who always gives you grief, but you haven't had the nerve to deal with them. Whatever it is, commit to facing it head on and just deal with it. Thanks for joining me today for video number 4 of this 5-part micro-series on how great leaders turn crisis into opportunity. Join me tomorrow where we'll wrap things up in video number 5 and focus on the important role you play for your employees.